Let's talk about some childhood memories for a minute. Specifically, that time you swore to your PlayStation-owning friend that Daytona USA on the Saturn was just as good as the arcade. But were we actually just gaslighting ourselves? Let's be real. If you were a kid in the 90s with a Sega Saturn, you knew the struggle. While PlayStation kids were flexing with Ridge Racer, you were clutching your Saturn copy of Daytona USA like, no, trust me, this is just as good. And you know what? You were entirely wrong. Okay. Before the arcade purists come at me with pitchforks and torches, yes, the Saturn port was different. But different doesn't mean bad. Let's get the obvious out of the way. No, the Saturn version wasn't a pixel-perfect arcade clone. The cars were chunkier, the draw distance had a love affair with pop-in, and the frame rate occasionally took a coffee break. But here's the thing, none of that mattered when you were playing it. In fact, it was kind of magical. But somehow, against all odds, this port really felt like Daytona USA, and in this video, we're gonna find out why. The handling? Buttery smooth. The thrill of raw horsepower and momentum? Electrifying. That soundtrack? Still an absolute banger. So sure, it wasn't identical to the arcade, but it always gave you the feels of Daytona. And when you were blasting through corners in your living room, that's all that mattered. The Sega Saturn itself was like that one kid in class who was secretly brilliant but got overshadowed by the loudmouth, and I'm looking at you, pretty boy, PlayStation. And while the Saturn had 2 CPUs, which sounds cool until you realize programming for it was like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while blindfolded. But when the developers cracked the code, magic happened. Let's set the scene in 1995. The Saturn was Sega's plucky answer to the PlayStation, and Daytona USA was a beast of an arcade game that pushed the Model 2 hardware to its limits. Porting it to the Saturn was no easy feat. Sega's programming wizards looked at the Saturn's quirky architecture and said, "Challenge accepted." And somehow, they made it work. Forget the graphics for a second, because when you were actually playing, something crazy happened. Because once you hit start and that intro screen and music kicked in, you were all in. It wasn't arcade Daytona, it was your Daytona. No more quarters, no line of impatient kids behind you, just you, your couch, and the dream of nailing that perfect lap. Just the pure and unfiltered Daytona joy at home. This isn't just a feel-good game, this is a feel-great game every time you play it. What I mean is that the Saturn port of Daytona USA is like your favorite worn-out hoodie. It's not the flashiest, and it's got a few loose threads, but damn if it isn't comfortable. It proved that even with its technical limitations, its great gameplay and the overall experience created was an unforgettable moment in gaming. So of course it didn't replace the arcade, but it did make us feel like we brought a piece of the magic from the arcade home, which is why 3 decades later we're still talking about it, and that soundtrack. Daytona's funky, upbeat, and soul-lifting musical masterpieces always feel like a breath of fresh air that somehow brighten up any day and make you forget that you were driving a car made of polygons. I mean, you could still be in last place, your car looking like a mangled Minecraft mess, and then bam! Suddenly you're pumped, you're invincible, and you're absolutely about to wipe out on the next turn, but who cares? The music still made you feel like you were winning. That's the power of Daytona USA on the Saturn. It wasn't just a port, it was pure adrenaline, all bottled up with the Sega logo on it, just waiting to be opened whenever your younger self was bored. And here's the thing, racing games live or die by how they feel, and somehow against all odds, the Saturn version nailed it. The handling was snappy, and the speed was, "oh my god, I'm gonna die" level of thrilling, and the beautiful chaos of 40 cars battling it out on a super brightly colored track was always a good time. Daytona on the Saturn is proof that fun doesn't need perfect graphics. It just needs heart and soul, a killer soundtrack, and the sheer audacity to exist. And oh yes, before I forget, the game's pop-in, otherwise known as the Saturn's mysterious solution to "we ran out of RAM," nothing says 3D racing games from the 90s like having the steep walls alongside the track instantly appear like tiles from only a few hundred meters ahead. Okay, fine. That's total jank. But you know what? We remember the pop in and still have a sentimental soft spot for it. This is like an awkward family portrait, lining the walls of our collective gaming history. And who really cares about pop-in when your car has an animated cloud reflection on the glass? I mean, how cool is that to see on your home console way back in 1995?
The white flag is out. This is the final lap.
This game is also like your first car. Was it perfect? No. Did it have quirks? Absolutely. And most importantly, did you like driving it? Hell yeah! And each time you hear it sends your pulse racing and takes you right back to the thrill of being a teenager again. So given all of this, did our childhoods somehow lie to our present-day adult selves about how good this game really is? Nah. They just focused on what really mattered. The speed, the noise, the sense of power, and that music. All of which give a feeling of pure racing joy that I would argue has never been surpassed. And while our younger selves may have exaggerated this game's technical merits, our love for it was 100% genuine. The hours spent mastering the perfect power slide and the friendships forged through fierce competition, and the muscle memory that still kicks in when we hear that timeless music. No amount of high-definition, 60 frames per second graphical superiority of modern games can take that away. So was the Saturn port of Daytona USA as good as the arcade or those other fancy-pants PlayStation racers? Technically, no. But did it make you feel like a testosterone-fueled racing god in your living room? You bet your bright blue hedgehog it did. Alright my friends, this is the Retro Gaming Boss signing out. Thanks for watching. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go listen to Sky High on the loop for the next 3 hours.